Welcome to this video on subdomain 2-7 of the ECC, which is all about data and information protection. The objective of this subdomain is to ensure that the organization's sensitive data and information is kept confidential, accurate, and accessible to those who need it. It's essential to have a multi-layered approach to data and information protection that includes technical solutions, policies and procedures, and employee training and awareness. Before we dive into controls in subdomain 2-7, I would like to let you know that the NCA already issued a new requirements called DCC, which can be found in the NCA website as well as in the file resources for this sections. It has more controls and requirements that it's beyond the requirements mentioned in the ECC. And now let's go over the controls in this subdomain. Control 2.7.1 is focused on ensuring that the organization has clear and defined policies and procedures in place for protecting and handling data and information. This includes making sure that the policies and procedures align with any relevant laws and regulations. For example, let's say a healthcare organization handles patient data. In this case, they would need to ensure that their policies and procedures for protecting and handling patient data align with laws such as the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA. This might include things like implementing strict access controls, regularly monitoring for breaches, and having a plan in place for responding to a data breach. In terms of implementation, it's important for the organization to document their policies and procedures, and have them reviewed and approved by relevant stakeholders, such as legal and compliance teams. It's also important to ensure that all employees are aware of the policies and procedures, and receive training on how to follow them. As part of this control, it's important to have a robust data governance program in place to ensure that data is properly classified and handled based on its sensitivity. This might include identifying and classifying sensitive data, such as personal identifiable information, and ensuring that it is protected using appropriate security controls, such as encryption and access controls. It's also important to have regular audits and reviews in place to ensure that the organization is following the policies and procedures and that they are still effective in protecting the organization's data and information. When it comes to protecting an organization's sensitive information, data and information protection is key. But what exactly does that mean? And what does an organization need to do to make sure they're meeting the requirements for data and information protection? Well, first and foremost, it's important to understand the three main components of data and information protection: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality refers to making sure that sensitive information is only accessible to authorized individuals or systems. Integrity means that the data and information is accurate and complete. And availability ensures that the information is accessible to those who need it when they need it. To meet the requirements for data and information protection, an organization needs to have a multi-layered approach that includes technical solutions, policies and procedures, and employee training and awareness. One important aspect of data and information protection is having defined, documented and approved cybersecurity requirements for protecting and handling data and information as per the related laws and regulations. This might include documents such as an incident response plan, data retention policies, and data classification policies. In terms of technology, an organization might use solutions such as encryption software to protect sensitive information, firewalls to control access to their network, and intrusion detection systems to detect and respond to any unauthorized access to sensitive information. By implementing a multi-layered approach to data and information protection, an organization can be confident that their sensitive information is secure and that they're meeting the requirements for data and information protection. For Control 2.7.2 is about implementing the cybersecurity requirements for protecting and handling data and information that were defined and approved in 2.7.1. This includes putting in place the technical solutions, policies and procedures, and employee training and awareness programs that were outlined in 2.7.1. One way to implement these requirements is to conduct a risk assessment to identify and prioritize the organization's critical data and information assets. Based on the results of the risk assessment, the organization can then implement appropriate controls such as encryption, access controls, and data backup and recovery mechanisms to protect these assets. For example, sensitive data such as personal information, financial information, and confidential business information should be encrypted both at rest and in transit. This can be achieved through the use of encryption technologies such as AES or RSA. In addition to technical solutions, it's also important to implement policies and procedures that govern how data and information is handled. This includes incident response plans, data retention policies, and data classification policies, which provide guidance on how to handle data and information in different scenarios. Furthermore, employee training and awareness programs are important to ensure that employees understand the importance of data and information protection, and know how to handle data and information securely. In terms of technology, some examples of solutions that organizations can use to implement these controls include encryption software such as BitLocker, Veracrypt, or AXCrypt. Data loss prevention, DLP, software such as Symantec DLP or McAfee DLP. Access control and identity and access management, IAM, software such as Microsoft Azure AD or Okta. Backup and recovery software such as VM or Acronis. It is important to note that the specific solutions and technologies that an organization chooses will depend on the organization's specific needs and requirements. Control 2.7.3.1. Data and information ownership refers to the process of identifying and documenting who is responsible for managing and protecting different types of data and information within an organization. This can include identifying the individuals or teams responsible for specific types of data, such as financial data or personal data, as well as the processes and policies that govern how that data is handled. Data and information ownership. Organizations can use data governance solutions such as Calibra, Informatica, and SAP to manage and track data ownership, classifications, and access controls. Control 2.7.3.2. Data and information classification and labeling mechanisms refer to the process of categorizing data based on its level of sensitivity, and then applying appropriate controls to protect that data. This can include things like data encryption, access controls, and backup and recovery mechanisms. It also involves labeling data with appropriate classifications, such as confidential or public, to ensure that only authorized individuals or systems have access to it. Data and information classification and labeling mechanisms. Organizations can use data loss prevention, DLP, solutions such as Symantec DLP, McAfee DLP, and TrendMicro DLP to identify, monitor, and protect sensitive data across endpoints, networks, and cloud services. Control 2.7.3.3. Data and information privacy refers to protecting personal data and information from unauthorized access, alteration, or disclosure. This can include implementing controls such as encryption and access controls, as well as complying with any relevant laws and regulations related to data privacy, such as the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR. Additionally, it also means to ensure the protection of personal data and information through the implementation of policies and procedures such as incident response plans, data retention policies, and data classification policies. Data and information privacy. Organizations can use privacy management solutions such as OneTrust, TrustArc, and IBM Privacy Analytics to automate the process of identifying, assessing, and managing data privacy risks and compliance requirements. Control 2.7.4. Is the last control in subdomain 2-7, and it is about reviewing the cybersecurity requirements for protecting and handling data and information on a regular basis. This control is important because it ensures that the organization's data and information protection measures are up to date and effective. It also helps to identify any gaps in the existing controls and address them accordingly. To implement this control, the organization should establish a regular review schedule for their data and information protection measures. This could be done on a quarterly or annual basis, depending on the organization's needs. During the review, the organization should assess the effectiveness of their existing controls, identify any new risks or threats, and implement any necessary updates or changes. The review process can include a variety of activities, such as reviewing and updating policies and procedures, testing disaster recovery plans, conducting vulnerability assessments, and reviewing logs and security reports. The organization should also consider any changes in laws and regulations related to data and information protection and ensure that their measures are in compliance. To support this control, the organization can use various tools such as security information and event management, SIEM, systems, penetration testing tools, and data loss prevention, DLP, solutions. These tools can help the organization to monitor and analyze their network, identify any potential vulnerabilities or threats, and take appropriate action. Additionally, they can also use risk management frameworks to help them identify and mitigate risks. Overall, regular review of the organization's data and information protection measures is important to ensure that the organization's sensitive data and information are well protected against cyber risks. Example: An example use case scenario for understanding subdomain 2 to 7 in the context of a small retail company. Meet Jane, the owner of a small retail store. Jane is dedicated to providing her customers with the best shopping experience, but she's also concerned about the security of her company's data and information. Jane knows that protecting her company's data and information is essential to maintaining the trust of her customers, so she decides to take a closer look at the cybersecurity requirements for data and information protection. First, Jane defines and documents the cybersecurity requirements for protecting and handling her company's data and information, in compliance with relevant laws and regulations. She also establishes policies and procedures for incident response, data retention, and data classification. Jane then trains her employees on these policies and procedures, as well as on the importance of maintaining the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the company's data and information. To ensure the protection of her company's data and information, Jane also implements technical solutions such as encryption and access controls. She also implements a data loss prevention software to monitor the data flows and detect any data leaks. And also, she uses an identity and access management solution to authenticate and authorize access to sensitive data. Jane understands that the threat landscape is constantly changing, so she reviews her policies and procedures periodically to ensure that they're still effective. She also conducts regular risk assessments and updates her technical solutions as needed. Thanks to Jane's efforts to protect her company's data and information, her customers can shop with confidence, knowing that their personal information is safe and secure. It's important to note that the specific solutions and technologies that Jane chose are just examples and that your company might need different solutions depending on your specific needs and requirements. Implementing the cybersecurity requirements for protecting and handling data and information is an ongoing process that requires continuous effort to ensure the organization's data and information are protected at all times. This includes regularly monitoring, reviewing controls and mechanisms, such as monitoring logs for suspicious activity, conducting vulnerability assessments, testing and updating incident response plans, data retention policies and data classification policies, making sure all employees are aware of these policies and procedures and providing regular training and awareness programs.